G'day and welcome to the Hunting Connection podcast. My name is Zach Williams and I am your host. Here we'll connect you with hunters, fishers and outdoor enthusiasts from around the globe. This podcast will share hunting and fishing stories, including past experiences, and tackle the tough hunting stereotypes our community faces. We hope to be a positive influence to those outside the community while also having a laugh along the way. Hope you enjoy the podcast. G'day and welcome to another episode of Hunting Connection podcast. On today's episode, we've got Luke from the Hunting Republic podcast, Braken Wear, and Bowhunters Group of Australia forum. How you going, mate?
Good, thanks, mate. That's a long tag that you've given me.
It is. You've got your foot in every little bit of the hunting industry over here, so it's a good start. Yeah. You can.
I feel like a doctor with PhDs and MSDs and maybe STDs. I don't know.
Anything's possible in this line. You spend enough time out in the bush, you might pick up chlamydia from a koala or something.
A koala, that's right. No, thanks for having me on, man. Thanks for having me on.
All good. It's been a long time coming, and now that you've got your podcast under the way, I've been listening to that, and it got me even more excited to get you on. So.
I appreciate that. It's been a fun little adventure so far. Just, I suppose, we talked a bit about earlier, kicking off a little solo effort on the side there to lead on to a few bigger and better things with other ventures. So yeah, it's been a good fun thing. I sort of feel like we're peers now, mate.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. The the hunting podcast community of Australia is only small. There's only a dozen-ish of us all up who have podcasts on the go and had podcasts. So it's a small little venture. You've got your first guys that kicked it off, like Jason from the Australian Hunting Podcast, and then you got a couple other guys that came in a little bit after that, and then you've got the next wave from me, you, Matt, all of these guys that are coming through now. Tobias, Chris.
Oh, mate, it's. I think if anyone out there has had a listen to any of my episodes, it's been mind blowing actually. We were chatting and whatnot before I actually started it, but you reached out and Matt and Dodge and Tobias and a few of the other guys, and that's been awesome. It's been really cool actually. Yeah, it's been really cool. It's been something that I'm not surprised by, but it's been really cool. It's probably been almost the best part of it, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting little adventure to get into. I'd done a couple of podcasts. I've probably done my first guest appearance on a podcast, the Big Buck Registry, an American podcast, and that was probably 8-9-ish years ago. And then I kind of got a bug for doing that. And then I'd done Australian Hunting Podcast. I'd done another American one, and then Send It Mate. And once I actually sat down in the room with a bunch of guys doing a podcast, I'm like, yep, this is what I want to do. I want to do this. This is great.
Yeah, nice.
Just talking shit with other hunters and conservationists and outdoor enthusiasts. I'm like, this is what I want to do.
And the silly thing is, we all like listening to it as well.
Yeah. I don't know.
We'll sit around and talk crap, and other people will listen to us sitting around and talking crap. So
I don't know who's crazier, the guys sitting down recording the podcast, or the fact that people actually listen to the shit we dribble.
the people like us who think we'll record this, and we think people might want to listen to it.
yeah, exactly. Like, I've spoken to a few other guys that have started podcasts, and they're like, we recorded about 50 before we actually released an episode. And yeah, my first episode I released, I sat down with one of my best mates, Luke, and sat down, had a couple of technical bugs that we kicked through, and then the first 3-4 episodes I had, different things pop up. I got locked out of my laptop for a month.
No way.
Just some weird security setting locked me out for a month. So I recorded the first 2 episodes, released the first episode, and then got locked out of my laptop. So I couldn't.
Nobody heard from you again. Well, I suppose people listening don't know the rigmarole, the hoops that I just jumped through to get this audio working. But you set it all up and you get it all, working smooth, and then all of a sudden you start actually trying to do something, and it spits you out the window and wouldn't work. But we got there in the end, mate, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We did. Oh, I've had it all. I've had the internet cut out. I've had blackouts. I've had, heavy rainpours and thunderstorms in the background.
Wow.
Last episode that was released, I had my son come into the room. It was like 9:30 at night, and he's woken up, and he's like, "Why's Dad up?" And he's outside crying by the back. I'm like, because I got the headphones on. I'm like, is that a cat? Like, is there a cat squealing outside my window? But no, it's the son at the door. So I'm just like, hang on, mate, pause it. Left all that in, just so people know what it's like for us podcasters,
With podcasters with kids, yeah. So I've set up my two girls in the far end of their house with headphones and iPads. So
as long as the
they're going to go from there, to sneak into bed and go to bed real quietly.
As long as batteries don't run out, you're fine.
Oh no! See, we're heading overseas in under a month now, and I've sorted it all out. So I've got a 30,000 milliamp hour battery pack there with the two cords, and I'm like, said to my wife, if they run out of batteries, just plug these in and press go, and it'll keep going. So
just have a look at the amp hours. You can only take so much amp hour of a battery.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Because I got one of the King's battery packs for when I went over to Snake Island. The ones that you can jumpstart the car with, but also charge all your devices and that on. And I'm just like, oh sweet, I can take this to New Zealand. It'll be a good source. But nah, you can't fly with them. I'm like, God damn it.
I actually had that in the back of my mind, so yeah, I'll definitely look it up. But
it's not even something I thought of. You can't even put them in your suitcases. Like if you have battery packs, you can only have them on carry-on luggage. So
yeah, 100%, and it's the same. Like they have limits on lipo batteries and stuff, and like I do a bit of drone work for my employment, and same if I have to go international with that or whatever. There's real strict rules with how many batteries and how big the batteries can be and what charge state they have to be, and the lipo bags have to be put in and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, it's just one of those things.
Flying's always fun.
that's I'll find out towards the end of next month, 14 hours straight from here to Vancouver. So yeah, well, yeah.
You're flying with a bow for that one? You're taking a bow?
No, it's a family holiday, so 3.5 months and no hunting.
That's when you just slide a stick bow in.
Well, I'll also be spending several weeks in Colorado, and the week before I get there, my mate's got his tags with a week before I get there. So I'm a bit upset about that, but yeah, we still might go for a bit of a walk and look around at least. But yeah, he's drawn his elk tags and that for the week before, so it's like, oh well, it's just the way it rolls.
Yeah, a couple of the past guests off the podcast, Nathan, who came over to Snake Island to help me out on the hog deer hunt, and Jurgen, who I went across to New Zealand and hunted with.
New Zealand,
both of them in Colorado at the moment. So
oh wow,
yeah,
cool.
I've been getting, if you're following them on Instagram, you're seeing all the updates. Jurgen just took his first coyote, and Nathan's is been filming moose and pronghorn and bear and all of those things, sending them through. I'm like, oh damn.
One day.
Exactly. So let's kick off into the podcast. We've rambled on and no one knows anything about you. Whereabouts are you from?
Yeah, righto. I actually live in a little coastal town called Bargara, which is about 15 minutes to the east of Bundaberg up in Queensland.
Yeah, beautiful.
It is. It's a beautiful little bit of paradise. It's not too big. It's not too small. In town, Bundy's 100,000 people, so it's a reasonable size, and it's just down the road. So I sort of spent my teenage years here and moved away for university work, overseas work and stuff. And when my wife and I decided we were moving back to Australia, this is where we decided we'd want to be. And my wife definitely wanted to be down near the beach. So yeah, it's a really nice little spot actually.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. I went up to Bundaberg when I was probably 13 with my grandparents. We drove up from Adelaide here and right up the
Yep.
coast and up to Bundaberg. That's about as high as we went.
Awesome.
And the Bundaberg Rum Factory always stuck in my head as a tour. That was awesome.
It sticks in my drink quite often,
Yeah,
actually.
I could
Um,
imagine it'd be dangerous living that close to that factory, I reckon.
yeah. And the other, I think I've mentioned it to you before. We were chatting online. My wife's actually an Adelaide girl as well. She's from Stirling,
Yep.
and we were married down there in the garden of the cottage of their parents' place, and had a reception at Mount Lofty Summit there. So, yeah, I love that part of the world too, mate. It's
Full of
beautiful.
deer there, man. Full of deer. Deer everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. So that's where I'm from.
Yeah, awesome. And what do you do for work?
Oh, I'm actually a full-time professional firefighter.
Yeah, awesome.
Um, been in the career for uh, 10 and a half, 11 years now. Yeah. So, and prior to that was a PE science teacher. So did that for
Yeah,
10
well,
years as well.
that's a
Yeah.
big difference between being a PE teacher to a firefighter.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a bit of stint doing some engineering and drafting in between, and other studies as well. But it's one of those things. It's a it's a profession where there, believe it or not, there's actually a lot of, let's say, overlaps, but there's a lot of I think the more the more things go on, the more technological or scientific they get. It tends to be a typical evolution of a lot of industries. And there's actually, there's a lot of science stuff and knowledge required for a lot of the stuff that we have to deal with these days. So it's certainly not for the what's the word? I don't know, but I've found my background really helps, actually. Yeah, my
No,
science background has really helped. And maybe, some of the stuff with regards to the things we learn about fire growth and development and fire causes and all these sorts of things too. I just found, without sounding like a pyro, I found really fascinating from a science perspective, and to have that sort of, I guess, that bit of fascination about it too, sort of helps you want to learn more and be better at doing what you need to do.
yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely is fascinating. Down here we've got the CFS, which is the Country
Hmm.
Fire Service. And they do a cadet program. So I think
Yep.
it was 12 or 13 when you can join. So I think I was a CFS cadet from about 11 when my mum joined. So I was the first cadet at that station. So I did all the
Yeah. Nice.
training with the normal CFS, and then once you're 16, 17, you can do your basic bushfire fighting, and done all of that as
Yep.
well. So yeah, learning about all of that stuff's awesome fun, and it's very very hard work.
Mm, mm.
So
One of my most amazing things that I saw was we got taught about we're at the academy. So as full-time firefighters in Queensland, we go down to Brisbane for 4.5 months.
Yep.
We have an academy out at the Port of Brisbane, and we spend a really intense 4.5 months there. And at the appropriate time in your training, they take you to one part of the campus, which is called the live fire campus, where they actually shove you in shipping containers with real fire and stuff like that. But they educate you about fire growth and fire development and those sort of things before you sort of get let loose on it. And you go into a shipping container that's all set up for it. They start a fire in the corners at the far end, and they shut the doors behind you and whatever else. You've got breathing apparatus on, and you sit there with an instructor and your group, and you watch the fire grow, and he or she talks to you about the fire and what's happening and how it grows. And one of the coolest things I learned, which even though I had my background, I had no idea about, was the fact that smoke is unburnt fuel. So where you have a fire in the corner of the shipping container and the smoke levels are building up and it hits the ceiling and it starts coming back down, it's like laying underwater looking up at the surface, and it starts to come down and come down and come down. Well, all that smoke is unburnt fuel, and if it gets hot enough, it will actually ignite.
Yeah.
But what you can see is in front of you at the far end of the shipping container is the fire where it started. But then when it gets hot enough, you can see up in the smoke above you and behind you flames that don't actually go back or connect with the original fire. And you call them the dancing angels because they just they just appear and flash and disappear. And it's just the most amazing thing to sit there and see and learn about, because you don't realize what that is and what's happening until you're actually, they sort of, oh, it does this, and you're like, really? And then you sit there and you look at it and you go, that's just incredible, and then learn how to control that to, either protect life and property. It's the next step, and it's even more awesome. So it's pretty cool. I love my job. Best job in the world.
Oh, I bet. I've looked down that path a couple times. At the moment, I'd be a bit too unfit, but it's not either family friendly either. So that's another reason why I stopped looking down that path. But yeah, it definitely is appealing to an outdoorsy type person. Most firefighters I've met all have very outdoorsy hobbies.
We're lucky here, and I mean it varies state to state, but our roster is really lifestyle friendly. We do 2 days, 2 night shifts. We do 10-hour days and 14-hour nights, and so we're in effect, that gives us 6 days that we have available, and a 4-day weekend every weekend, so to speak, because we cover off on 48 hours every 4 days. So the downside to it is obviously working weekends or nights where you might have a family event on, or a birthday or something like that. That can be a bit of a pain. And then the roster that we have, it advances 1 day a week. So for example, 1 week you might start Monday and Tuesday, or the next week you start Tuesday, Wednesday. So you can't sort of always lock in a routine. But well ahead of time, 12 months, 2 years even, if you're still on the same shift, what exact days you will be and won't be working. So you can forward plan, and you can do shift swap with other guys and things like that. So it affords the ability to go hunting and have side businesses and make podcasts and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's really good in that regard, actually.
That's good. Speaking of side businesses, Braken Wear, let's hear about that. How'd that come along? How'd you get involved with that?
We've owned Braken Wear for almost 3 years now. Braken Wear, as it exists now, is owned by 3 people, myself and 2 business partners, and it was an interesting process, actually. And I sort of say it was we sort of came about it through 2 purchases, if you like. I had been living overseas for 5 years or so, and moved back to Australia and lived here for a bit. And just because of time overseas and accessing Queensland being private property only, I didn't have any properties to hunt on. I'd lost contact, or properties been sold or whatever. And so I hadn't hunted for a bit of a time. And then as things goes, my business partner, Bernie, moved back, and he'd been living in Houston for a couple of years. And Bernie's same sort of background as myself, outdoors, lifestyle, brought up camping, fishing, scouts, all that sort of stuff. And Bernie's ex-military. But he's always been into rifles, so I've always been into bows. And when he came back from Houston, he came from his house, which he may or may not have bought 3 houses up the road from my house. Comes down and he's like, "Oh, I bought this compound bow thing, and you need to show me how to use it." So I got, okay, well, I haven't hunted in a while. Don't really have anywhere to go at the moment, but did a bit of sort of looking around the place, and was able to get access to a property about 40 minutes from our place here, and thought I need to sort of sort myself out with my gear, and I couldn't find my head net, my face camo. And I used to use a lot of ASAT camo back then, and I had the 3D head mesh thing that I used to wear, and I couldn't find it. So I'm like, oh, what am I going to do here? Because, I'm a very pasty, pale white dude, and my face stands out a lot. So, a departed friend of mine, may he rest in peace, used to call me Casper. So, I, I used to just give him crap for being so big because he was a massive lad, and he used to call me Casper because I'm so pale. But yeah, my friend Howie Griffin, of no relation but the same name, I'd actually seen him wearing Braken Wear on his socials and stuff, and I really, really liked the look of it. I was really sort of intrigued by it, the pattern and everything. So I thought, I'm going to look this stuff up. And so jumped on. I just needed a head net, a face mask, face veil, and that's just what I bought. This thing arrived, and I was like, this is cool. This is like, even in person, it was cooler than I thought just looking at it online, And I thought I might look a bit further into this stuff. So did a bit more, scaring, looking at the socials and stalked the Instagram page and whatever else. And I happened to come across a post up there that was the business was for sale. So again, on the phone to Bernie, hey, Bernie, that sort of side gig we might have been talking about, thinking about doing something here or there. And I'm like, have a look at this. So I flicked the leak, and he's like, oh, okay, well, there's an email there. I said, well, shoot him an email and let's see what comes of it. So Bernie has a background in that side of things. So I didn't really sort of get involved in that. I basically let him sort of do his thing, and 3 or 4 months later, what he called due diligence, and I was just like, I don't really know that term at the moment, but because I never bought anything, you better bought a business or anything like that before. We ended up having acquired the business. So the gist of it more so was that we weren't looking at it from a let's buy this and make money perspective.
Yeah.
We bought the gear. Bernie bought more gear in the interim, and we just loved the gear. We were just like, this is top quality stuff. We saw the opportunity then. The company was not necessarily going to fold or be bought, but be bought by someone else or whatever. But we thought this is an opportunity to, really jump into this and take ownership of this gear that Troy and Ben, the guys who actually created the original products, and drive it forwards, and not just own the gear, but really just 2 feet, jump in, the whole works.
That's awesome.
And then we can bring good gear to hunters, and we can sort of keep going on with what 2 top hunters have developed, and hopefully, drive forwards to the future as well, and bring out good products for Australian hunters.
That's awesome. That definitely takes a whole new meaning into, buying what you love and going out and not just buying the actual product, but buying the business.
Well, that's it, eh? Like, I was honestly, and when I bought that face veil, and like I said, a few other bits and pieces and whatnot shortly thereafter, and I was just like, this is a couple of guys having a crack, and they've literally started from scratch. In
That's
2012,
awesome.
Developing the camo pattern and certain garments, and trialing it and testing it and getting other guys to use it, getting the feedback and tweaking it and changing it and all that sort of stuff, and doing everything right, from the get go, and they themselves like hunters that have shot all sorts of things and spent so much time in the scrub, and Troy's got published articles and all this sort of stuff and whatnot. So it's not just coming from a business, you know what I mean? Like it's and it sounds a bit stereotyped or whatever, but it's hunters making stuff for hunters.
Yeah.
And I just, to me, that's the way it should be.
No, that's awesome. And how many products do you guys actually have out?
Oh, dude. So we've got a range of apparel we've got summer pants and winter pants. We've got a summer shirt. We've got a soft shell winter jacket. We have a down jacket, which is one Well, my Scorcher top, which is the summer shirt, is my favourite bit of gear because there's nothing like it out there. But the down jacket, I'm actually taking to Canada next month and through the US and Europe through into winter. And my wife's like, you can't take that. You can't. I'm like, I'm taking it. I don't care. It's just the best bit of kit. And we have face veils, and we have, so that's a lightweight. It's made from actually the same material as the Scorcher top. So really nice, lightweight, cool thing. We have what we call our face, we call it our buff, which is more of a form-fitting sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Elasticated type thing that hugs your face a bit more, but they're both lightweight for summer. We have camo caps in the normal pattern. We have the blaze orange caps. We have the logo wear. We have lightweight summer gloves, fingerless gloves. What else do we have? Belts. Belts are really cool. I'm wearing one at the moment. Logo t-shirts, logo caps. I said that. Yeah, so that's
good range.
I think that's the most stickers, like key rings.
Yeah. And how much have you guys brought out since you've owned the business? Have you brought many of have you developed any other garments and that since you've taken over the business, or?
So we introduced the summer gloves, the face buff as opposed to the face veil.
Yep.
We developed the blaze orange cap, and let me think. There's something else I can't think of off the top of my head. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
It's interesting because not interesting, but the three of us have sort of three different roles in the business, and I'm sort of I'm the social media, the outward facing contact. So I run our accounts and do that sort of stuff, and yeah, always trying to think about what have we got, what haven't we got. But yeah, that's what we've brought into it so far. But at the same time, as I think a lot of companies and businesses have experienced the last few years, sales haven't been that great, I don't think, with everybody or anybody for that matter, rather.
Yeah.
But we're here for the long run sort of thing anyway. So we've got stuff that we've done in the background. We've got other products that we have done some R&D on. We've done some field testing on that we've got that we are really excited to get rolling when the time's right for us to get them rolling.
What type of what type of stuff goes into research and development when it comes to that type of product?
Firstly, is I suppose what what in our line is it that we want to fill in? What do we see that we can supply to fill out an entire range where, like, people will come and go, okay, well, I don't have to go here to buy that or there to buy that or there to buy that. And we want to base that on not necessarily that we want everyone to buy we want people to buy everything from us, but we want to put products out there that speak for themselves.
Yep.
And we feel they do. So if our products speak for themselves, like, we feel people will want to do that anyway. So it has to be quality. And the first, I think, part of quality is testing. And you can have your idea. Like for us, for example, we want to bring a base layer to the market in the future because we don't have a base layer. But we don't just want to go and pick out of a catalog from a manufacturer that they make this particular base layer and it's cut like this or whatever.
Yeah.
We want to go, okay, well, fair enough. They make that. Let's get a sample. Let's get a sample of that one and that one and that one and that one and that one. And let's see how they work. And then let's go forward with that if we want to make changes. But at the same time, see how they work, not just for me running around in the scrub with it, but for you and for other people to get feedback. And that feedback, again, from hunters is the only way you're going to make something that then you can take to the market and say, we are happy that this is as good as we can possibly make it.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, you don't just sort of pull something off the shelf, I suppose, or out of a catalog from a manufacturer. And trust me, we get sent them all the time. It's just not how we want to roll. We want to make sure that what we bring to the market is something we would use, and we would happily say to our friends who live down the street or across town and can literally come and knock on the door and say, hey, dude, this is a piece of crap, that we've got quality gear, you know. So there's that aspect of it. Then there's, okay, well, what fabrics can we make it from? Because in this day and age, again, there's like, mate, we've got swatches of fabrics that would just blow your mind, and what they all can and can't do, or what they're best suited for, or what you can match them with and mix them with, and or layer them with, and things like that. That side of it is super fascinating. Again, from a science background, super fascinating as to what's available in this day and age. And then moving forward into all the, you know, zips and pockets, or, you know, vents and hitches, or, you know, all that sort of stuff. And even then looking at the pattern, and does the pattern print well on it or not print well on it, and, you know, all these things. It's a big endeavor, but it's really cool. It's really cool. It's something we quite enjoy, actually.
It definitely sounds like it's a lot of different stuff that you can nerd out, you know, going down going down different avenues, you know, hearing people talk about different camo products and how they're developed, and, you know, you got the Meat Eater guys always talking about the stuff that they're working on, and then, you know, other guys as well. So it's definitely very interesting, and how you know, camo does a job, but everyone's got their preferred style of camo as well as
definitely. That's it. That's it. Yeah.
A lot of my good mates and a lot of past guests on this podcast run Braken Wear, so it definitely stands out. And, you know, I've heard nothing but great things about it. I actually haven't seen any of the kit in person, but yeah, it definitely looks great from what I've seen.
It's again another aspect of it that intrigues me, and has done for a long time since I first came across ASAT. And I'm not sure you are familiar with ASAT.
Bits and pieces. I've heard you speak about it on a past podcast.
Okay, yeah. So that and if you'd listened to that particular episode, you would have heard me talking about the research that they had up on their website, and the discussions that I've had with them in person, and the research they did into their patterns and stuff. And that side of it is absolutely super fascinating. It's really cool stuff when you really start to get into it and start to learn and understand why and what and how, rather than just slap this together, slap that together, or like lures, you know, someone will buy this, it looks good, you know.
That's it.
It is, you can nerd out on it pretty hard.
You can, and everyone's very loyal to the brands that they like, you know. You see someone matching camo and you're like, what are you doing?
And as you've heard me say too before, if you did listen to that episode, it's just something that it's like, no, I can't do it. It's got to be all the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. If it's all old school Oz cams, which I still have from my reserve days, you know, like, it's just got to be the same.
So I've run Huntec camo for years, and, you know, one of the old owners, he's like, oh, what would you like? I'm like, a neck gaiter, because I've been running this neck sock for like, it's the only thing that's mismatch on my whole camo is.
Yep.
And it just bugged me all the time.
Yep. Well, I when I was fully kitted out back in the day in ASAT, I used to have this awesome Plat Attack backpack that I bought, and it was, and I've still got it. It's literally 3 feet from me right now. But it bugged me, that the thought that if I'm stalking in on something, I'm all covered in ASAP, but then there's these 2 stripes of the straps and across my guts of this Oz camp. I can't be excited. I got some ASAP material and cut it out and sewed it around the straps and covered it all up. You know, so.
I never thought,
at least to an animal I look the same now, you know.
I never thought that, you know, the animal would be like, oh, there's 2 different bushes over there moving. You know? It's more that when I look back at photos from the hunt, it's like, oh, well, that looks shit. I'm not matching.
Yeah, that lure got you, didn't it?
Oh, they do all the time, mate. They would, shiny. I worked at BCF for a few years too, so I'd be taking the boxes apart, or all the new gear. I'd be like, oh, that one's not hitting the shelf. That's going home with me. So that's going straight through checkout.
I also know then that you've heard me be accused of maybe matching my bows and my knives with my Braken Wear as well. So
Yeah, yeah. That's
yeah.
that's full nerd.
Oh well, it's because I can.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, so how did you actually get into hunting and fishing?
Oh, dude, I didn't have a choice. My father was a bow hunter before I was even born. So I'm a '79 model, and in the mid '70s, my father actually started the Mount Isa Bowhunters Club with his neighbour, and even today it still runs, and I believe it's the oldest or second oldest club in Queensland, the ABA club. And so yeah, I literally just didn't have a choice. I Some of my earliest memories are of Dad making arrows. The smell of the fletching glue, the smell of the Port Orford cedar, um, going out to the club, to the range, those sort of things, being carried on people's shoulders around the range because it's too tight to walk. But then also the four-wheel drive trips and camping and stuff. Um, and I just didn't have a chance, sort of thing. So I was exposed to that side of it from a very young age.
That's what I like to hear.
A lot of fishing in my early days as well. But also I was in Cubs and Scouts and Adventurers and all that, and Army Reserves, and I just grew up outside and
That's good.
outdoors. Mates we used to jump on our pushies and go down to the river and fish after school or on weekends and stuff like that. So it's just what I've always known, what I've always done, um, what I've always loved doing, and where I love being. So
Yeah, beautiful.
literally, it's in my blood. So don't have a hope. Like I said, I've had some time away from the sport, and those people who know me well. I've said to a few times that it's just you've always. I think it's like when you've travelled. If you've travelled a reasonable amount, you always want to travel
Yep.
again. You either can or you can't, or circumstances don't allow you to, or whatever. But you always have that wanderlust to go. And I think hunting's the same. It's the time I had away from the sport, I still always had that something just pulling me back to it, whether it was the fishing side of it, whether it was the bow hunting side of it, whether it was just being out in the nature side of it and camping side of it or whatever. But the lifestyle and all those aspects of hunting as well. If I could go out and go camping, even if I'm not hunting, it's still that portion of the lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
I definitely know what you mean there. What about when you first started getting into bow hunting and archery? Were you a stick and string guy or compound cowboy? What were your roots?
I actually was too young to remember being given my first bow,
That's great.
but I still have it. It was a hand-me-down from my older brother, and I have the bow that he got as well when he handed that one down to me. So that's just a little fiberglass recurve,
Yeah,
mate.
beautiful.
Like all of about 8.5 pounds or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but and then later on had other sort of sick bows, but then when I was in high school and had a part-time job, I actually saved up my own pocket money and put a compound bow on lay-by. So that was a York Boss. York was a big brand back in the 80s. Not that I was a teenager in the 80s. This was the early 90s, but it was I've still got that as well. It was all timber riser, all
Yeah,
timber
beautiful.
limbs, and it's an awesome bow. It's a really nice bow to shoot. I had a number of years where I was living in Brisbane as a uni student, and I was at the Grange Bowman Club in Brisbane there, and there was a guy there who ran a shop called Keith, and Keith was an absolute magician. And I took it into Keith one day, and he was doing a bit of work on it. And he said, because it had the cables, the
Yeah.
teardrops, the steel cables, and the single string. And he's like, "Would you like me to, so I can make this a bit better for you?" I'm like, "Mate, I trust you with my newborn, so whatever you want to do, go for your life." So he changed the cams, put a set of Browning cams on it, changed all the fast flight string system and whatever else, and oh mate, it was 300% the bow it was.
That's awesome.
And I shot my first billy goat with that because I had an opportunity to learn to shoot billy goats down at Tennerfield. Took 2 goats, not with the one arrow, but very short succession, and just countless other game with it. It's just a magic bit of kit. So, but I've shot them all. Like I've shot longbows and recurves, but
those old
this
York,
day and age,
those old York
yeah,
bows are gorgeous. My pop had one hanging up in his gun room for years.
nice.
He got it. Years and years ago. I think he'd shot it a few times and just hung it up in his reloading room, and it's just sitting as a kid watching him reload. It's just something that's always sat up on the wall. And he recently gave it to my dad, and I've been trying to find. Wow. I'll have to send you a photo of it. I gotta.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very similar to what you're talking about, but I haven't been able to actually find much on the actual model of it itself. So I'll have to send that through to you. I reckon you'll get a good kick out of it. But yeah, they're a cool bow, and it's just crazy to see how far bow technology has come in that relatively short.
Absolutely. I've actually was very fortunate. I was living in central Queensland and used to come into Gladstone to the different comps and stuff that they'd have at the club there. And one day this guy's walking around with the exact same bow. I was like, mate. And then I just happened to say, if you ever sell it or want to sell it, here's my number, because I knew that I'd never find another one like it, but I also knew that of getting of age or whatever, the bow might start to have some issues, limb delaminate or whatever. And I was just like, if I've got a second one as a spare, then that's fantastic. So I actually own 2 of them now.
That's sweet.
And the other one is in original, like the cams and the teardrop, the cables, everything is actually original. And the other really cool bow I've got is a 1985 model Martin Warthog, which is, with the exception of it's all timber limbs, timber riser as well, but it's and laminates, timber laminate, of course. So it's it's sort of like an orangey, browny timber laminate riser. But my father's got one which is the pine colour, sort of light like timber. And same thing, identical bows, just with the exception of that colour. So I came across that thing one day. I'm like, that's exactly the same as Dad's. I've got to get that one. So I don't even know what I paid for, $150 or something, but same thing. And I've shot game with that too. It was pretty cool. Actually, no, tell a lie. I've shot game with Dad's bow. That's right. But it's just, I just love those old timber compounds. They're just awesome.
Bows are an obsession. Not sure if you can see behind me. I've got a couple up there behind me. I've got my first bows, my first compounds up there, and hand me down Bowtech Tomcat, and then the rest of them are all PSEs. I kind of hit the PSE bug, and I've got.
Well, that's it. You sort of find something you like, and you go, you know what, this worked well for me, and try the new technology, but it's still. You sort of see the same sort of. I've done that with Hoyts. I've had Bowtechs, and I had a Diamond that, looking back, I probably shouldn't have got rid of that bow. It's an absolutely fantastic bow, but I think I traded it or sold it because funnily enough, my weird science background, I wanted to, and I'm left-eye dominant but right-handed. So with my human movement science background, on the learning side of things, I thought I should be shooting left-handed. And I have a weird theory. I won't go into it too much, but I actually think we should almost, all right-handers should be shooting compounds left-handed. But I shot left-handed for 10 years.
Yeah, wow.
And taught myself how to do it. But I never got to the point where it was as therapeutic as the way I'd been shooting my whole life.
Yeah.
I was more accurate, don't get me wrong. But I'm still, all the years I didn't shoot, I'm still accurate, but just not as accurate. But it was just never as therapeutic. So I ended up changing back just for that aspect of it,
Yeah, I've tried a couple times. I've got a few left-handed mates and tried shooting left-hand compounds, and you just feel completely backwards. Like everything feels off and wrong.
Oh, mate, it is. And everything's an effort, like even knocking an arrow with the left hand, the dexterity isn't there. The drawing and the aiming and stuff, that's more of a mental game, I found. But the dexterity and the effort to knock an arrow left-handed, especially to do it in the field, when you don't necessarily want to take your eyes off the game or whatever it is you want to do, but you want to do it smooth, efficient, quiet in the half dark or whatever. It was just so challenging.
Oh, I could imagine. I think my mate's compound was a 50-pound bow, and I couldn't even draw that left-handed. Just
Yep.
everything's
Yep.
backwards. All your muscles are strong. Like it's crazy. But you hear people like Joe Rogan talk about how your back actually shapes towards for shooting the bow because you constantly like it. So you're using
Yep.
one side and the other side's getting weaker and
Yep. Yep. Well, back in the day, I believe, if my memory's right, that's how they used to identify the remains of Old English archers. Not grossly, but distinctly oversized on one particular side than the other. And thinking of them is actually part of the reason I wanted to try left-handed for various reasons. But yeah, it's longer than a couple of hours podcast, mate. Trust me.
it is, especially when you get into all that old school arching stuff, and especially when it comes to like Old English archers and Mongolians and all of that type of stuff.
Oh,
but yeah,
on.
Speaking about gear, what's your current setup these days?
So my main compound these days is a Hoyt Factor 30, which is a 2014 model.
Beautiful.
And it's I'm pulling a whole massive, huge 26.5-inch draw because I'm just a really tall 5'8". But I'm 5'8" and nearly 90 kilos, so pulling back 80 pounds, which isn't a drama. And I've actually, segueing back to what we talked about before, I bought it specifically to strip down, recondition, and restore, for want of a better word. But I've had it hydro dipped in the Braken Wear pattern. I had all the other bits and pieces Cerakoted and whatnot, and then kitted it out with a whole bunch of new, accessories.
That's sweet.
So it's a really nice, if something is old, 9 years old, it's a really nice bow to shoot, to be honest. And being again with the shorter end of the draw, now that I'm pulling 80 pounds instead of the 70, I've found that an extra 10 pounds is really making up for that, difference in, say, most people shoot around the 28 to 30 inches.
Yeah.
It just punches them out, mate. It's a really nice bit of kit. So
that's sweet. What arrow broadhead combination are you running?
So I'm shooting a 100 grain G5 Montec on the front with a insert outsert system, and that's on the Evolution Tomahawk arrow.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I've got a mate who actually makes them up for me, Arrow Punk on Instagram. Look him up. He's a top bloke, Addy.
Follow him.
So he makes them up for me, and just really just I found, again, having a period where I was away from the sport and then came back into it, the evolution of, and no pun intended there, of arrows was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's insane.
My favorite arrow was back in the day was the ST Axis, which, again, from a sciencey physics point of view, my brain was telling me that something with a small diameter but a thick wall was going to be the strongest that you could sort of go with. So the ST Axis I found was just phenomenal in that regard, and then came back and saw what is on offer now with micro shafts and blah 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 blah. It's just like, it's just amazing, it's just amazing. So yeah, I was looking for something. I can't remember what else I came across Addy, and he had the Evolutions there and whatever else, and we started talking. I was like, well, actually, I'm chasing a couple of dozen. Let's give these a crack, So that's the other thing. We carry arrow wraps through Braken Wear.
That's cool.
so I sent him some wraps and then said, yeah, whack these on, make them up for me. This is what I'm looking for. So he did, mate, and they're just top product. Really love them.
That's awesome. Yeah, the G5s go well. I've shot them before, and they hit hard. I was a big lover of 3 blades there for a minute, but I've gone back down to the single bevel. So
yeah. Yep.
But yeah, no, I absolutely love them. And you do a little bit of rifle shooting too, as well.
Yeah, mate. So got into that because I fell off the roof and broke my leg. It's really good
Love.
firemanship that was, but nothing to do with work. But yeah, sort of wasn't sure how far along I'd be able to walk for, given the damage to my left leg. And lying on the couch, I thought, well, I might do something about getting my rifle license. So the quick backstory to that is also with my first purchase, which was a 44 Magnum Marlin lever action.
Beautiful.
Based off the fact that my father, despite being a bow hunter, had a 30-30 Marlin lever action, but because he got into bow hunting before I was born, I actually never saw that rifle used up until the day he sold it. And he sold it because I was overseas and couldn't get a license to buy it off him, and he couldn't be bothered jumping through all the hoops after certain changes through the government. So when I decided I was going to start looking at firearms and getting my license, then I thought, oh, there's no question I'm buying a Marlin lever action. That's just and then obviously it sort of lent itself a little bit more towards
the trad side.
Shorter range hunting, so yeah, it's I picked one up. I think I bought it from a guy in Victoria, secondhand, hardly a mark on it, like very low round count through it. The barrel was just impeccably, just pristine, and yeah, it's a beautiful rifle. I've since had it Cerakoted and whatnot, and sort of taken care of. So yeah, I've also gone on board a little CZ 455 22 mag. I've got something else that I bought, which is just a standard 22, but it cost me $50 and it has a Russian name that I can't remember off the top of my head.
That's nothing wrong with that.
And then more recently, a Hauer 1500 223 short action.
Yeah, beautiful.
Which I've also, and the 22 mag and the 223 I've also had all Cerakoted. I bought a Hera H7 stock for the 223, had that all Cerakoted as well. And they're matching tones and colours. So, yeah, I couldn't help myself.
Someone sounds a little OCD when it comes to that side of stuff.
Well, it was funny because the CZ455 was in terrible condition when I got it. Like there's big crack in the stock, and like working parts and everything was really, really good nick, but the stock and everything was terrible. And when that was away getting Cerakoted, I was actually hunting with the 44. I just noticed that where I'd sling it and walk, my elbow would rub on it and sweat and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's not going to be good. Like across the faceplate, for example, where you put the rounds in and that. That's just going to rust as shit. So I thought, well, when I get this one back, I'll send this one away and I'll get that done. Then I don't have to worry about it, So, and then, of course, when I got the 223, it was just no question. When I got the other two done, I may as well get this one done as well. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I hadn't really thought too much about Cerakoting until I listened to one of Matt's episodes recently, where he went into it on Oz Hunting and Beyond's podcast, and he had a guy on there talking about it all, and that was good, insightful episode because it's not something I'd really thought about. So it's good to learn a bit about that from then.
Well, that's the thing. So, same sort of thing. I knew of it, but I didn't know of it from a firearms perspective. I knew about it with regards to engines and whatnot. But again, Bernie being more of a rifle guy, he was all over it. And we're talking bits and pieces. He's got a really nice Bergara rifle, and that he got Cerakoted. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went to the same guy, IPS Cerakote on Instagram. If anyone wants to look him up, Danny is a magician. I swear he's a magician. And yeah, I was like, well, this shit sounds like it's just an investment in time and preservation of your firearm. Like it just makes sense, mate. So that's the way I looked at it too. It's just it means it's less work for me to keep the firearm in good nick. But it also means the firearm's in good nick, even if, if my attention to it isn't as good as it should be, there's a little bit of forgiveness there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that means an excuse to be lazy with my care for my firearm, but it just means that it's like, if it is, for example, sitting in the safe and people get worried about the surface rust or whatever, like I don't really have to,
Yeah.
so it's good, especially living at the coast, Yeah.
Yeah, my main takeaway from Matt's episode about it was, don't spend the couple $100 more on stainless and just get the regular blued or whatever, and then get it Cerakoted. For what you're going to spend on the stainless, you can get it Cerakoted, and it costs about the same. So
yeah, and then conversation I've had with Danny about the various hardnesses and stuff, and I think Matt covered it a bit on that episode as well. You talk about the different options of level, I suppose, and the different hardnesses, and therefore the resilience to wear and tear. And that's, you just think you take, like guys like us, we take these rifles hunting, that bit of extra protection that we can put on them is a little bit more peace of mind when we're in tight scrub or crawling on your guts or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the episode now. I can't remember what it is, what episode it was. Cerakoting. So yeah, Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast, episode 5, Cerakoting and Reloading with Simon from Haztech. So, that was a insightful episode. I learned a bit about that on it. So it's a good episode for people to go check out if you haven't gone over there and checked it out. So moving on a bit, top beginner tip. What would you suggest for someone getting into just hunting in general?
It's funny how many of your podcasts I've listened to, I knew this question will come up, but I think I'm the same as every other person who you've asked it to, and they go, well, there's so many things that you could think of. And in all honesty, I could say, practice, or buy once, cry once, or know your gear, or whatever, but just enjoy it, and I did say it on the first episode of my podcast. I said, take that moment when you do get out there, be it you're going with someone else, you're not actually hunting, you're just tagging along because that's the invite you've got, or you have got your own gear, you have put the yards in, you have got your rifle or your bow, and you've put some practice in or whatever, and you're at the stage where you can go and ethically hunt something, humanely take an animal, but enjoy it. I find, because I'm a guy whose brain is just going nonstop all the time, to stop, either sit on a log, just pause, shut your eyes, just take a breath in, feel the breeze, listen, take that moment of enjoyment of what it is you're actually doing and the opportunity you've got to do it. Because, you through the conversations you've had, the time you've been in the sport, that, the fight to keep that access, or the fight to keep the right to do it, could go tomorrow.
Yeah,
but irrespective of that, just within life, I think the opportunity to be able to get out and enjoy what we do have, and I suppose a little bit special for us in Queensland, and I think it's the same for you guys in South Australia. It's private land hunting only.
Yeah, that's it.
That in itself is for want of a better term, it's precious. It really is. It really is precious. So just enjoy it. Enjoy the process, the learning curve. Don't get so hung up on too many aspects of it. Do what you need to do to be humane about what you have to do, but enjoy the process and enjoy the actual moment that you're in.
I've found being not in mountain fit condition helps with that, because when you're stopping for a deep breath on the side of a hill, you're taking it all in as you're catching your breath. So it doesn't always pay to be super fit for hunting, because if you're just powering along, you're missing everything. If you're unfit like me and you're catching your breath on the side of the hill, you're taking a lot more.
I'm not a fat bastard. I'm just enjoying the moment.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I hear you. I used to hunt with some boys that were just they were just mountain hunters, and I was a flatland Queenslander, and they would just give it to me. And it's be like, okay, I'm slow. I could go all day though. I won't stop. I'm just a lot slower than you are.
Yeah,
You know?
that's it. Oh no, I definitely stopped. Coming out of Snake Island, walking back with the deer, the amount of stops we had, and it was a warm night, and I'm just
Oh,
laying on the ground on my backpack, just staring up at the stars, taking it all in, struggling,
yeah,
dying out of breath,
struggling.
but taking it all in nonetheless.
Oh, that's gold. That's gold. So the worst experience I ever had in that regard was when the weekend the Canberra bushfires happened.
Yeah,
And I was at again on episode of my podcast mentioned that hunted down near at Wellington or near Wellington near Dubbo there. And dude, it was 37 degrees in the middle of the night, and we got up and we hunted from about 4:30 in the morning, and we didn't get home until after dark.
that's
And I
nuts.
was real bad. I was in such a state that like we took breaks in the middle of the day. We wallowed around in water holes, all sorts of stuff. Slept in the shade in a creek bed, all this sort of business, just to manage the heat and whatever else. But I was walking up this hill back to the ute at the end of the day, and again with my background and stuff and what should I know about the body and that, I'm walking up. I was so bad, so stuffed with the heat and dehydration. I was taking 10 steps. I was counting every one, and I'd stop for a break. And I kept saying to myself, "You're still sweating. You're okay." Because I knew if I stopped sweating, I was cactus.
Yeah,
And it was, but I was trying to keep up with the mountain boys. It wasn't good news, So yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, that
that's
was a
it.
funny segue out of enjoy the moment. That was.
Oh, it's true though. Like some of the most memorable stuff, especially this year from Snake Island and New Zealand, is the times where I'm, catching my breath. I'm
Mm,
absolutely bugging, and I'm sitting there, like I said, with Snake Island, laying there on top of my bag. It was. I think I shot the deer at 6:30 ish, and we didn't get back to camp till 1:30 a.m. And just sitting on the side of the track, just sitting there staring up at the stars, or
mm,
New
mm.
Zealand, out of breath, on the side of the hill, eating bits of snow off the ground because we've had the fresh snow melt, and just taking it all in.
Beautiful.
But it's
Yep,
definitely a good way to take it all in. But yeah,
that's it.
moving on from beginner tip, what about items? What top 5 items would you suggest for a beginner getting into hunting?
5. All right. So I think I don't think you can go past your staples that I think most guys come back to: boots, backpack, obviously whatever bow or rifle that you're taking.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of access to cheap crap these days, and unfortunately, um, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, but that is often a lot of people's first point of contact with archery as a pastime.
yep,
And again, I don't have that depth of background in firearms to be able to comment too much about on that side of things. But definitely your cheap red zones or red lines or whatever they're called, that sort of stuff. I think I shed a tear the day I heard that some BCFs were stocking archery gear. Um, but yeah, whatever that choice of a firearm or bow is, A, fit for purpose, and B, that it's some sort of quality.
yep,
And in this day and age, and full well, like that, for example, that bow that I was talking about before, my Factor 30, yeah, it was a 9-year-old bow, but I picked it up for $500, and you can get lesser, it's a little bit more because it was an 80-pound bow. They're a bit harder to come by, but you can get lesser sort of bows for similar or less money that are, former flagship bows in their day, and they still shoot beautifully. Um, I kind of probably have to say camo gear, don't I? No, look, it is what it is. I won't say that, but I'll say a backpack of reasonable size. Be that I think at least 40 liters plus, but not stupid big, not 75 or 80 or whatever, but something that you
Paul's
can.
collar.
Oh, look, mate, they all strap, most of them these days, you can strap them down and make them that bit smaller as day packs. But I think it's a good starting out point for a
Yeah.
beginner. I don't think many beginners look at it and go, okay, I'm going to go and stay overnight for 3 nights just with what's on my back.
Yeah.
That comes down the track. And I think, too, also, if you're looking at a pack around the large-ish day pack size, the price point is a bit more friendly for beginners.
Yeah.
But having said that, that price point being a little higher than something you buy from Kmart, you're going to get a pack where, if you come with me and hunt out at Marramee, walk 20 Ks, yeah, it's flat, but a shit backpack's going to rub you and you're going to know about it.
Yep.
But I'm also going to say, I want to make sure you've got enough water. I learnt that lesson. First aid gear, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
So even before you go, you've got a bit of weight in that backpack. So that's important. I said boots, didn't I?
I think what you covered just then, those two things that you said are in the backpack. I think they're a great one. First aid and water. Both very under.
Yep.
The amount of hunters I know that don't carry any first aid stuff with them is just insane.
So I have a Minimi pack, which is your belt-fed machine gun webbing pack.
Yep.
from the army. It's hard to describe how big it is, but you'd probably say it's about 6 inches square by about 2.5, 3 inches deep. And there's two cans of tin food, be it baked beans or spaghetti or something like that. I've got fishing line, pliers, I've got hooks, I've got hexamine tablets, I've got matches, a lighter, I've got mozzie repellent, I've got a sewing kit, I've got a compass, I've got just Xylem sticks, glow sticks, and that little space blanket that lives in my backpack all the time, irrespective of I'm going for a 5-minute walk, I'm looking over that hill, whatever, all the time. Snake bandages, slings, it's got wound dressings, basic band-aids, it's got some Panadol, super glue for wounds. And it's not hard to put that stuff together and fit it in this it's not tiny, but fit it in this thing that just sits in the bottom of my pack. And, okay, if I'm going for a day walk, I've fill up my water bladder, I throw in maybe a can of V or, an extra spray some water bottle or something, and a bunch of snacks, apples, whatever, and off I go. But I've got that first aid there if I need it. I've got that if I've, God forbid, I break my other ankle and I'm staying in overnight, I've got some stuff to light a fire, to keep the mozzies away, take, the edge off some painers and Panadol, keep me warm with a space blanket. And it's not that big and it's not that hard.
Yeah, that's it. I've got the, normal stuff in the first aid kit, bandages, bit of gauze, if someone going for an operation and they coming out, you get the nurses that come to the house and like, oh, here's an extra pack. You grab all of that stuff. You've got stuff 100%. That will, if someone that's, an ambo, they only have a life on some of those dressings and stuff. They have to get rid of them.
That's
all.
Right.
So it's good to get rid of, any of that old training gear that's all expired. It doesn't matter that it's expired for us, because it all works out. You've got bandage tape and all of that. All of that comes in great handy.
Yep.
So you can put a little.
So we we have the people come into work on an annual basis to go through all the first aid kits on the fire trucks, and we've got 6 or 7 fire trucks at my station. And then we have a couple of first aid kits around the station as well. So same thing. There's stuff in there that has an annual expiration date or a biannual expiration date or whatever. And they literally end up with just bags and bags of stuff. And they just sit there on the table. And so it's either going to go in the trash, in the bin, or I could grab that sling or that dressing or whatever and make use of it in my kit, So it's fortuitous in that regard, and I may or may not know a few ambos as well through work.
And it's better to have and not need than need and not have at the end of the day.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's really important, and I think number one is something to bandage a broken leg with, and something to obviously bandage a snake bite.
Yep.
So I think they're the two things that'll really take you out of the equation if you're not careful in an isolated area.
In your years of hunting, have you come across many snakes? Like I come across a lot of snakes when I'm out fishing or just hiking, but I haven't come across a heap when I'm out hunting. Maybe a dozen, 2 dozen at the max in the last 15, 20 years of hunting.
Mm. Oh, my count wouldn't even be that high. I think I could probably count on one or maybe two hands at most the number I've come across. I haven't had any really hairy run-ins. I've had pucker moments, but usually from holy shit, I didn't know that was a snake, or there's a property out at Marra here in Central Queensland that I hunt on. A couple of months there you go, where I had Barry and Dave out there, and I said, "Hey boys, see this here? This watercourse of brigalow trees. That's Brown Snake Gully. Do you want to know why it's called Brown Snake Gully?" I said, "Because there was a snake there, and the colour brown ran down my leg because I shit myself." So I'd probably walked about 16 clicks by the time I'd come across a Brown Snake Gully, and grass was a little bit over waist height. And I thought, I'll push through the grass here. I'll get to the watercourse where the brigalows are, walk through the water holes, and then up out. And I knew where the ute was from there, a couple of k's across the paddock. So I've taken about 30 metres walk into this grass, and I look down because I'm sort of trying to follow this ping pad, and it sort of disappeared a bit. So I look down, sort of trying to work out if it goes left or right or whatever. And all I could see is, as thick as my arm, this section of a brown snake. And I couldn't see its head. I couldn't see its tail. I just could see a section of it, and that was it. I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. I may have said a few unsavory words, but it was just massive. It was so thick. I just thought, there's no way in hell I'm hanging around to even find out where the head or the tail are. No, I'm done. So it was it. I was just straight line out of the grass, up the road, dirt road there to the paddock, and straight back to the ute. I was like, no.
I take it you're not a snake fan then.
Not in this. Oh, look, I don't mind at all. I'm not a big fan. Like I'm not one of someone to have one as a pet, but it's if I don't know where they are. And in that instance, you know what I mean? Like I'm in the long grass and it's home, and I don't know where its head is, and I'm on my own, and I've got like pretty much no reception. And I just thought, nah, this is not the equation that I want to have adding up right now. But yeah, but other than that, I remember different property out at the same area, coming down a creek gully at a bit of a hurry, and there's this thing would have been 6 or 7 feet long. I don't even know what colour it was now. It was that long ago, but I just remember I Air Jordaned over the top of it, and I was up out the side.
That's hilarious. Yeah, my last run in with a snake was a red belly on Snake Island of all places.
There you go. You get a Big Mac at Macca's while you were there, or what?
But yeah, that was the last run in I've had with a snake, but it was red belly blacks. They're pretty docile. You give them space, they just move on. But yeah, what have you forgotten on a hunting trip?
Oh, I forgot my bow once. Not on a whole trip though. It was just the last hunt of the day.
Yeah.
So I used to hunt a lot with a friend of mine. He's passed on since, but we went on this trip, and I think it was a long weekend or something, but we'd hunted. Must have been the Friday of the Saturday, and then Sunday morning, whatever else, and we're just going for one hunt, before we went home on the Sunday or whatever it was. And done a bit of driving around the property, and I was like, it's a bit of a hike out to where a bit of a drive out to where the game is. And I sort of looked at the fuel gauge and went, no, we'll be right. We'll get out there, we'll get back, pack up, and then we'll get back on the highway and find some fuel. So anyway, jump in the car and off we go, and pull up at the top of the gully system and start walking for where we knew the goats would be. And I've gone around to the back of the ute, and I'm like, where's me bow? Oh, shit. Went to the back seat. No, it's not there either. Oh, crap. Just because I knew I didn't have enough fuel, drive back and get it, and then come back and hunt. It's like, oh, well, there you go. I'm just manning the camera today, Paul. But I think
Sorry.
that's the worst. I don't think I've left anything catastrophically behind, as far as left it at home and, being without boots or anything like that. But yeah,
Yeah, boots is
um,
my biggest. Quiver one afternoon just on a local hunt. Got to the property and grabbed the bow out and walking in, and I'm like, my bow's feeling real light today. And look down. Yeah, no quiver.
no quiver, no arrows at all. Then,
No arrows at all. Just
oh,
look
dude.
down at the bow and it's feeling really light today.
So I same thing. I carry two release aids.
Yeah,
There's always a second release aid because I know for sure I'm going to go somewhere and forget my release aid.
yeah. I've
You know,
I've got
just
I've got my first aid kit, and then I've got like another little, almost like a shower bag that's got a double pocket on it, and it's just got a few
yep,
larger bandages and a life straw, a little
yep.
reflective mirror, and then my spare release aid in there.
Nice work. Even like the cheap little old school thumb release. I just something that you can use. That is there if in case the worst happens. But yeah,
Yeah, it's funny just how these little things, you're just like going over everything, and you just leave one little thing out, and it's just like, God damn it! And so you
yep.
normally have two, just so you, if you do leave something, it's not so catastrophic when you get to where you're going.
Oh, it's one of those things it's funny how certain items obviously are just far more critical, And yeah, okay, I'm one for I don't necessarily wear my boots when I leave home. A lot of people jump and wear their thongs or a pair of sand shoes or whatever. And you go,
Yep,
okay, well I can get
that's
by in a pair of sand shoes, but you can't get by with their release aid. You can't get by without your rifle bolt. Like maybe that's the beauty of the lever action. You can't forget your bolt, mate.
yeah, that's it. That's it. Living in a state here where we don't have to take the bolt out the firearm, which is
Yeah,
great. I don't have to worry about that. But yeah,
nice.
I've left boots at home. We did a trip to the Flinders Ranges, which is 7.5, 8 hours from where I
Yep.
was living at the time, and I got a phone call when we were a couple of hours in from Mum, and she's like, "Hey, these boots in the middle of the driveway. Were you supposed to pack them?" And
Yep.
had a shit myself moment. I'm like, "Yep, yep." So we stopped into a hardware store. I grabbed some steel cap boots, just a $100 pair of steel caps, and spent the whole time hunting in steel caps.
Did you blister up?
No, very
Oh,
fortunate.
nice.
But yeah,
Wow.
a week.
Especially in the country.
It's crazy country, the Flinders for that,
Yeah.
and not to get to get blisters up there was
I've
pretty
um
fortunate.
I've done I've done rescues on mountains before where I've had to like escort a patient with a broken leg and like 6 or 7 of us holding the stretcher walking down a trail. Trail's only as wide as one person walking up, so you're walking either side because the stretcher's over the actual trail. But coming down, and I just when we got sent to the rescue, I didn't have the right boots, and coming down, my feet were just toes bunched up in the end, and by the time I got to the bottom, man, it was blisters and toenails, and it was just it was a really reasonably unpleasant experience, but yeah, they make a world of difference.
They do. I know that toenail one. Like if you haven't trimmed your toenails before you've gone out on a hunt, you sure know about it by the end of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
not good.
sketchy trails and stuff,
Sketchy.
what's the most sketchy hunt that you've done, or sketchy thing that's
Oh
happened?
boy.
Dangerous.
Um, so I was hunting on a property in northern New South Wales, and I'm trying to remember where it was. I'm sure it'll come to me off the time. I was thinking of it, Barrington Tops, and there was myself and my mate were there. We went for a drive and a hunt late in the afternoon, and we were sort of following this track, trying to find our way into this particular paddock that we'd seen from up the top of the mountain. And we've come across around this track and around the top of this gully head, and we've gone into this next paddock, and this track sort of petered out and disappeared. So we thought, it's getting a bit late, getting cold. we might turn around and just go back and, find somewhere else to hunt tomorrow morning, whatever. So every come across this same track across the top of this gully head, the back right-hand wheel has slipped into it.
Oh no.
And this is like the hillside was just covered in this weed. I don't know if you've got Patterson's curse.
No, not sure that one.
So imagine like a really low growing but quite wide, like as in diameter, cabbagey, lettucey type, succulenty type thing that just covers everything, and it's slippery as buggery. And the hillsides themselves are just like black soil. And this is it was cold, so it must have been winter. It was freezing cold. So it was just, everything was moist, and this Patterson's curse crap, and it was just slippery as buggery. And they weren't, I think they might have been road tyres. They certainly weren't mud tyres that might get some sort of traction. But the more my mate tried, the more the thing just slipped down into this gully with this and the arse of it. And it got to the point where it's just like, dude, let's just hold up. You got to get and have a look. Got out and had a look, and we're probably about 6 inches from dropping off this ledge and probably rolling.
Oh, shit.
I was just like, okay, right. So, that was a bit closer than we'd hoped. So we geared up and we just walked back to the cabin, dumped our stuff, went and found the farmer and said, oh, look, we may or may not need a bit of help over here. So his son was there. He's like, oh, I'll jump in the cruiser. And we all jumped in the cruiser. We drove around. He had a turfer winch. So then he positioned it up on the top of the sort of like, if you can imagine the utes pointing across the head of the gully, and the cruiser he's put directly as the gully ran up the hill from it, because we couldn't position it directly in front of the ute to pull it out. There's just not enough room. So we had to winch it and turn it at the same time, and then scull drag it up and then get out that way. Anyway, so we've hooked it all up. He sat in the cruiser ute with it in reverse or whatever. He had it, like foot on the brake, get in gear, turned off, chocked the crap out of the wheels. And then my mate said to me, he said, oh, well, I got it stuck, so I'll do all the winching and the hard work and get us out. And I went, no, I'm not getting in your ute and doing the break off, break on thing. No way. I said, I'll happily do the hard work on the turfer winch. So an hour and a half of turfer winching, I was maggoted. But we ended up skull dragging this thing around and up and out and stuff. But yeah, when we first got out and we looked to see how close it was, and it was just would have just gone over and over and over and over, And now, knowing now what I know about rollovers, I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't have ended well at all.
Yeah, that's the sketchy thing about, driving on properties. If your tires are a bit worn or you don't have the right tires on, these things can happen pretty quick.
And it was all that combination, this Patterson's curse stuff and the time of year and the soil type, and just, I was just like, just added up all wrong. And she was a little bit of a pucker moment when we first got out and realised how close we were to going over.
Jesus. On a lighter note, what about the funniest thing that's happened to you while you've been out?
I don't know about funny at the time, but funny, like I've had to look back on them and laugh. So I had some time up at Charters Towers hunting chital, and I'd had a hell of a run on them, like just shocking. And I came across a mob, probably about 15 deer and a stag, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good odds for me. And I think I spent about an hour and a half stalking in. I got into about 40 meters, so I was really close to where I was starting to think, okay, I'm in range now. And I'm just sort of, I think I wasn't on my hands and knees as such. I might have been on my guts or something, but I know I was really low to the ground. I look over my right shoulder, and here's this mob of about 37 steers just walking in, just young steers walking in going, what's this thing? We're going to go and investigate. They're walking over, and I'm just going, fuck off. So I've just frozen on the ground for about 10 minutes, and they come over and they had a sniff and whatever else, and ended up just walking off. And I'm like, oh, thank God for that, The deer had moved on a bit by that stage, so I had a bit more work to do. So Another 20 minutes, I'd made it a bit further. The deer are standing under this stand of trees, and they're just standing there relaxed as some were lying down and some were feeding and just doing their thing. And I'm like, oh, this is good. This is good. This is going to work out. So I sort of go to ranged it. It's like, oh, 32. Yeah, okay. Oh, this is good. So I start to come up. I thought I'd draw and shoot. And this bit of bark, it would have been 6 foot long off a gum tree, about 2 feet across, just fell right next to him. It just went, I was like, no, what the fuck? They just took off. And I was like, you're kidding me. You're absolutely kidding me. I was just kicking and cursing and carrying on at the time. But, looking back, I literally have to laugh. I'm like, if that's just nature doing its thing, if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have seen it. I wouldn't have known. It wouldn't have ruined my day. But,
if you weren't there, it probably wouldn't have happened.
And look, I don't know if it's overly funny or not, but just it's one of the things you just go, Murphy, just fuck off.
Yeah. It's one of those frustrating, funny things. You look back and you're like, everything was against me.
Oh, for sure. But at the same time, you just think of times around the fire at night with the boys and some of the carry on that you have and the chat and the banter and, just priceless laughs, mate. Absolutely.
That's it.
Just priceless.
So speaking of Chittle and stuff like that, what about top 5 dream animals?
Mate, I got asked this the other day. It's hard because even I reflected on what I said then, and I was like, oh, I couldn't even change that. It wasn't top 5, just number 1. But elk has always been up there. But even though, I don't really have and never been a bucket list sort of a guy, but it's just been always something about elk. And, I think for a lot of Aussies too, it's just we have our deer species here.
Yeah.
And our reds and our sambar are, big animals and whatnot. And then you look at an elk and you just go, dude, and you look at the antler growth and what happens there on an annual basis and the size they amass and,
yeah, it's insane.
They're just an amazing animal, and where you have to go to hunt them too. I think that's a massive part of it. And we're all in this because we love adventure. That side of it. But I don't think it matters how many times you've gone to the same property. There's always that little tingle on the back of your neck about the adventure that you're going to have, right?
Yeah. So
I think hunting elk would be a massively cool adventure. So on a par or a close second, only recently would be a caribou. I just think they're not an animal that you hear about many, particularly Australians, hunting, or wanting to hunt. And I saw some stuff on Instagram the other day, and I just went, you know what, that would be pretty awesome. That would be pretty bloody awesome. And again, they're also just this really awesome looking animal. If
they are.
And I don't know enough about the rules and the regs to know if I'd be able to bring a taxidermied head home or whatever. But imagine that in your house, and as opposed to the fallow or the reds or the species that we have, people would be like, what the hell is that? Most people wouldn't even have a clue. Most people don't know there's deer in Australia.
Yeah, I
know. But from there, mate, again, I don't know this in necessarily any order, but I'd love to hunt ibex.
Yep.
And to be honest, that probably is something that's on a bucket list, like an actual bucket list. I lived in Shanghai for 2.5 years, and when I was in China, I was lining up a trip to hunt in Mongolia, but it ended up not coming off, which I was really disappointed about. And so to have had the opportunity to go and hunt them and then not, it's an animal that, I see Benny Selleris putting up photos of the silent pursuit guys and stuff that he helps line up and stuff, and the hunts that happen over there. And it's just like those creatures in that place and that adventure would just be phenomenal. Absolutely.
Yeah, following when Mick Rodolphe went over there on his, that was just incredible watching all that play out.
Yeah. Just, I don't know. And there's something I think is something really I don't know, there's like an ancient like aura to them because of where they are and the thousands of years worth of history and the peoples they're hunting them, that we literally don't have here, because say the deer species we have, not that they're a deer, but they're sort of the equivalent here. They're new and introduced in the last little while in the big scheme of things. It doesn't have that aspect to it.
That's it. And I think that Capra species, like Aussies, have like a love for those different Capra species, because that's most Aussies' bread and butter is chasing goats.
That's it. That's it.
Everyone's like first try and get a 30-inch, and then you would try and get the 40-inch, and then try and get those lucky number of people that have got 50+ inches.
Yeah,
it's just the same thing with chasing other Capra species. It's just
a goat was my first large game animal, a medium game animal, but bigger than a rabbit or something. Yeah. But and I skinned that, tanned it. I've still got the rug, and it's tucked up somewhere special. But I've got others that I've shot shortly thereafter that I get out of bed every morning and put my feet on.
Yeah,
and it's, my wife hates it, but it's like, well, that's special memories for me. The times, the mates, the experiences, the adventures, all that sort of stuff.
That's it.
Yeah. But I'm up to number 4, red deer in New Zealand.
Yep.
We were talking about New Zealand before we kicked off, didn't we? And I haven't been to New Zealand, been a lot of other places in the world, but I'd love to hunt reds in New Zealand. Again, I think that's just something. I don't know. It's just something else. Yeah.
They just seem so well a part of the ecosystem. Well, they're not a part of the ecosystem, but they just seem so natural over there from watching all the hunting and stuff that we, that's what Aussies watch, is just hunting over the ditch.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then I'd love to hunt something in Europe. And I say something, but an antlered creature of some kind. But again, lived in Europe for a couple of years, and the culture and the background that goes with hunting deer over there, or something of that nature, is just sort of that other aspect. I actually have a guy that I've met recently here in Bundaberg who's English, and he has a friend that's got a Scottish, I don't know if ranch is the right word, but and old mate's got a hunting lodge and rah rah, and I was like, oh really? Can we have a conversation?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Europe was never big on my list to travel to. Like, I'd never really wanted to travel, but after watching like Ben go over and chase mouflon and stuff over there, and then chatting to the couple Danish guys that I had on the podcast, chatting to them about roe deer. I'm just like, cool.
Roe deer.
Maybe
awesome.
I do have to get over there, go chase roe deer one day.
Absolutely. And even the European boars, they're something else, mate. And I've been in sort of areas of Germany there where they are, and I've often driven through and gone, I'd love to pull up and just go for a walk and see what I can see in some of these forests. It'd just be amazing. And those forests, as distinct from the Aussie bush, and I know we have very, very vast and varied, types of bush and scrub and stuff, but a European forest to go and hunt deer or boar, or just be something else, I think.
I take it from where you are, pigs are your bread and butter species. That's what you grew up hunting, is it? Or
well, I first cut my teeth on goats, but pigs and goats. Yeah. Not a lot of rabbits up this way, because there are, but they're nocturnal because it's so hot. And then foxes and cats and that sort of thing. But you wouldn't shoot a cat, though, would you, mate?
No. I have no clue what you're talking about. As I pull out the cat skin stubby holder.
No. But like pigs, I think, for sort of anyone through central Queensland, are bread and butter. But more and more so, more prevalent. More and more prevalent with your Rusa coming through different areas. I do have a block here, not too far away, that's got Rusa on it. I've just got to get the time and the opportunity to get out there. It's frustrating, but life.
I bet.
yeah, but yeah, I something else about hunting pigs. It's something I really enjoy.
Well, yeah, that's you just named two of the things I haven't hunted here in Oz yet is rooster and
There
pigs.
you go.
Pig I have,
Yep.
you know, I've done a couple trips earlier days when I was first getting into bow hunting, chasing pigs in New South Wales, and didn't even see any sign, you know. And then over here,
Yep.
Kangaroo Island used to have numbers of pigs, but I think that
Yep.
the parks have gotten pretty much onto them, and there's nothing left since the
Yeah.
bushfires from over there.
Oh, okay.
They hit them on the head pretty hard. You know, there might be some in some areas, but yeah, I've done 4 or 5 trips over there, not seen a single one. You know, I grew
Mm.
up going to like Wilcannia in New South
Mhm.
Wales and
Mhm.
Wentworth and all of that. Never even seen a pig up that way, you know.
Yeah. Right. Wow. It's funny though. In some places they're a lot more patentable, but there's a whole lot of discussion there around pressures and changing of habits and whatever else. But so my last trip out to the place that I can hunt at Mara, the trip before that, I knocked a few over, and I was like, okay, well, I'd been out there 4 or 5 times before, and I'd sort of started to work out patterns and habits and that sort of stuff. And it's a 8,000 acre property, so there's a bit to cover. And I knocked a few over, and I'm like, okay, I think I've got this dialed in. So then the most recent time when Barry and Dave came out with me, I'm like, all right, boys, this is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to go. Blah blah blah. So we pull up at the first cattle grid and unload, and we walk down to the creek. And I'm like, okay, this creek goes from the yards here. It's about 4 or 5 clicks down to the river, and down along here. But at this point, there's water and whatever. I walk in there, and it was obviously there'd been a whole bunch of cattle put in that paddock, and all the water holes are stomped out, and it's just like, and absolutely nothing against obviously the farmer. That's his right and his entitlement to do, but it's just like, oh, that's just going to throw everything out, And of course it did. The pigs weren't in that gully, the sign wasn't there, and those sorts of things, and just had to sort of then go, okay, well, reassess, where do we go now, what do we start doing now, and sort of start the game over again. So I sort of, it's one of those not those opportunities, it's one of those properties where I've experienced it before, that the nature of that, it's a working property.
Yeah.
Different things can change at different times, so you could go there and you can walk the 20 clicks in a day and not see a single thing, and then you come back the next day. Like the second last time I was there, I pulled up at the cattle grid at 6 o'clock, and I'd knocked 3 pigs off by 6:30.
That's nuts.
I hadn't walked 300 meters down the creek. So it's just fun and games.
Yeah, it's funny. Like growing up, listening to my pop talk about hunting New South Wales, because he'd go out and shoot, a couple hundred pigs, and that was what they did. They'd shoot rabbits for coin, like the supplement money, and same with foxes, and they'd go on hunting trips for pigs, and they'd shoot a few goats here and there, but not as many. And he's never shot a deer, where I've shot plenty of deer, and I've shot 2 pig. Oh, I've shot about 4 pigs, but 3 in Mexico and 1 in New Zealand.
It's amazing the difference over the years too, isn't it? The rabbits were the staple income, a source of food. Whereas why would you shoot a deer? Nobody wants that.
Well, over here, deer have only just started blowing up in the last 20, 30-ish years. They just weren't around.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. But speaking on the meat side of things, what would be your favorite thing to cook with hunted game?
My favorite. Oh man, that's tough. My introduction to fallow was something pretty special. So it was actually at the property where we nearly killed ourselves. We were staying in a shearer's cottage, which had a wood stove. And before we'd gone out, I can't remember which day it was. It was the near-death experience day or another day or whatever, but it could have been a different trip there altogether. I'm not sure. But we fired up the wood stove overnight and everything because it was cold. And then in the morning, we knew we were going out. So it was going to die down and just be a nice temperature, for cooking. So we wrapped up some fallow backstrap and a bit of onion and something or other else, and just in alfoil, and just put it in the oven. And we went and hunted all day and came back, and mate, it was just, I think it was all the things. It was all the hunting, it was the fatigue, it was the hunger, it was the everything. But it was just sensational,
Yeah.
And then the other top shelf hunting memories for taste that I have is I think it was also a huge combination of all the experiences. I had done this big 6 night backpack hunt again with my mate Paul, who's passed. But we, in the morning, it was about day 3 or 4, could have been 4 or 5. We hunted some goats. We both took a young meat goat each. We butchered that up and had that in our packs, and hunted through the day, knocked off a number of good pigs. And then late in the afternoon, we were just sort of getting to a spot we thought we'd pull up for the night. And we were hunting through this thicket of trees, and there was this sort of clearing in the middle. And we're standing on the edge of it, just sort of looking around, sort of sussing it out, And we hear the noise of these piglets, and just that coming along. And I love piglets, so always give themselves away. And they're like squabbling kids,
I
They're always So I'm not meaning to rub it in. I'm really not. I just they're just cool little creatures, But I ended up shooting one because they're so cool.
Yeah.
So I knocked that over, and it would have been all of, I don't know, 12 to 14 inches long and however high. But knocked the legs off that, took the back straps and everything. And that night, mate, just over the fire, we had chevin we'd got that morning. We had pork we'd got that afternoon. Just the stars, just the whole works, mate. And I'm sitting there
beautiful.
like with this ham drumstick, just going, this is how good is this,
That's awesome.
And just dirty old goat and a bit of pork, But mate, it was just everything about it was sensational.
Oh, goat's amazing. Especially young ones. That's I shot a nanny one time and didn't realize that there was a probably a 4 or 5 month old kid standing on the other side of her. So it's going straight through her and taking him out too. And I put him in a little Weber tray, just scun him, gut him, and put him in a Weber tray. He was, once he was scun and gutted, he was no bigger than a hair. So he was just perfectly in the Weber, and just cooked that until the meat fell off the bone. And it was some of the best goat I had.
Absolutely. I've same thing, brought goat home and served it up to people, and they've just, how good is this? It's not even rated. You can't say it's underrated because it's not rated. Nobody, I guess there's certain ethnic groups that eat it, but mainstream, people in Australia just don't. It's just underrated.
And it's the most eaten game meat in the world as well.
In the world, 100%. I ask that question commonly of people when discussions come up with that sort of, what is it? And they're like, oh, don't know. And you stop and think about it, and then you go, what? It just blows their mind.
Yeah, that's one of my fun party facts.
Yeah, but to put a slightly different topic on it though, I can't go past a bit of sweet chili flathead for as a hunting, fishing aspect is concerned. Yeah, it's just a personal favourite. A lot of good flathead country up here, so when you get out and catch a few, a little bit of sweet chili and whatnot, it's very nice.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, chatting to like Queensland blew my mind. Chatting to Mark and Ian when I was on their podcast. I've just had a complete the hunting campfire podcast.
Yep.
Hunters Campfire podcast. But yeah, chatting to them, and we're chatting about carp fishing, and you can't you can't catch carp and take them, and because sometimes down here I'll turn them into Thai fish cakes, and Ian's like, what, you can take them? I'm like, what, you can't? Blew me away.
And it's something that's frustrated me for many, many years, but it's a whole other discussion with regards to the so-called representative bodies and what they do and don't do, and what they should and shouldn't do, and the absence or not the transparency, just the absence. They're not seen, things like that, which just there's so much evidence to say there's almost, how can there be an argument against it?
Yeah.
Well, there's not an argument for it being put forward by anybody who has anything that carries any weight to say. So what can we do?
Yeah, exactly.
It's frustrating.
It absolutely blew my mind when he said that. But yeah, speaking of these types of perceptions, how do you see the public views on hunting and hunters?
That's a really tricky one to answer.
That's why I like it.
Yeah, I know you like it, and I knew it was coming, along with the zombie apocalypse weapon. So, can we skip and go to that one? No, just kidding. Oh, look, I think it depends on a bunch of things, and I think as hunters who, irrespective of where we live, be it that we live in a metro environment or we live more regionally, or even, rurally, I think the fact that we have the experience when we do go and hunt on properties of talking to rural people, and rural people have that, and people who live in rural towns are just more connected with the reality of life and where meat sources come from. So I think if you're talking in those circles, or you're talking about those people and perceptions that they might have, I think it's just a lot more, down to earth, not the word I'm looking for, but it's a lot more in touch with the reality.
Yeah.
If you want to eat meat, it's got to come from somewhere. Something has to die, be it a butchered, paddock steer or a killed wild animal. That's the reality. And they're just, like I remember as a young tacker living on the Western Darling Downs, going to mates' properties, and their dad had just shot, hung and butchered, or, gutted a beast. And you're like, okay. And he's like, here's the heart. You want to have a look? Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And my mate, who was allergic to milk, cow's milk, he had to milk his own goat, because his brothers and sisters would milk the cows. But hey, dude, you can't drink that. So guess what? You're going to milk your own goat, and obviously eggs and that sort of stuff. It's like that was life.
Yeah.
So I think in those circles that, apart from people going to properties and doing the wrong thing, I think hunting is accepted. It is accepted as something, and the taking of animals to, get meat is a reality of life. I think it's where that disconnect starts, where people either don't, because in this day and age, I don't think there's an excuse for ignorance, but the disconnect where, meat's wrapped in plastic and woolies, and that's all I know.
Yeah.
But I still eat it. But hey, I don't really stop and think about where it comes from. Or, I think that it shouldn't be eaten. So therefore, everyone who does it is evil, or, a murderer or whatever. And I don't think there's a hunter out there that at some point in some social circle hasn't been called a murderer, while someone eating a ham sandwich or having a cheeseburger, or wearing leather or whatever, So that's a long, convoluted way of saying I think, unfortunately, that what I've seen change in the outward, it's not promotion, it's not the right word, but the image that the non-hunters can see of hunting these days has, with social media, become more detrimental. And I think that there's people out there who don't actually appreciate or understand what it is we can do at the moment, until, as you're experiencing at the moment, someone comes along and says we're banning bow hunting in your state.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And even then, those people go, well, it doesn't affect me, I don't care. But, within the circles of people who are doing it, people who, 20 years ago when I started the forums, you like anything that was on the internet, you never showed an animal with an arrow in it.
Yeah.
Ever. No way. It's a bad look for the sport. We know it's the reality of how something dies, but it's just distasteful. And it's not so much that the anti-hunters are going to like the photo any less or the image any less. It's more so that people who accept hunting or are indifferent to it are going to see that and more likely not like it than just a photo of a person with an animal or the photo of a dead animal anyway. And it's detrimental, therefore, to the image, and therefore that person is probably more likely to be against what we do than for what we do.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but yeah, when it comes to, the person who gets upset over seeing a dead animal on social media, they don't care if it was killed with a knife, a bow, a gun. They don't care if an arrow's sticking out of it or not. They might point to it when they're talking about it and say, look, there's an arrow sticking out of it. But at the end of the day, they don't care how it died. They just care that it's dead, as they see that animal as a sentient being.
Yeah, fair point. But I guess to me, sorry, it just points to the change in what now is, I guess, acceptable to put out there that 20 years ago wasn't, and the community as it was, I suppose, would have a voice to say, or would, people within the community would say, hey, dude, that's not cool, and for the most part, people who did those sorts of things, and that arrow in an animal is just an example, but people who did those sort of things would pull their heads in, they'd pay the respects to the guys who the Dave Whitings, the Dave Penders, the guys like that who are the forefathers of the pastime, and they'd go, well, dude said something like, yeah, I should probably listen to that, and then saying it for a reason, it's interesting, again, having lived overseas and seen certain cultures and certain practices, and then come back to Australia as well and seen the difference. I experienced in as I was a teacher at the time, even the cultural acceptance of that in that profession. But hunting is another example. The acceptance of hunting in New Zealand or in the US versus what we experience here. It's something I worry about. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's something you touched on though. But it all depends on where you are, because even in parts of America where it's people are disconnected from their food, is where hunting's an issue, and that's a great point you brought up.
Sure.
But how would you change the public views on hunting and hunters in a positive light?
So I think the only way that each of us can do it, really, and it's kind of a bit cliche, is just one person at a time.
Yeah.
And I think it's the meaningful connections that you have with people who are interested in listening. And I don't mean preaching to them or, going around knocking on their door and saying, have you found hunting yet? But be it at the smoko table at work or at a social gathering or a barbecue or whatever, it's interesting for me, again, because I didn't hunt for a number of years, and then I started hunting again. In that interim, I obviously met people in my professional life and in my social life who were just like, you do what now?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, actually, this is the background history I have in it, and these are all the things I've done in the sport, in the industry, and in the pastime. And, this is the time, the money, the sacrifice, and the commitment of the various aspects of it that I've done, as well as actually go out and hunt, as well as as my father and blah blah blah. And they're like, oh, well, dude, I have no idea, tell me about it. Or people are just going, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool, and not really want to know anymore. But that opportunity to engage in meaningful, respectful dialogue, and I think it pays to be able to have stopped, or to have made a point to stop and think about when that conversation is going to happen. Because if this is a sport, anyone listening to this podcast, if this is a sport or this is a pastime, I don't like using the word sport.
Neither do I.
No, but if you're getting into it, you're new to it, you want to get into it, stop and think about when someone asks you about it, what you're going to say, because it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. And Zach, you've listened to my first episode, and my mate Barry was there, and it's a really cool, unique story because he was an archer who liked shooting archery
Yeah.
and doing targets, stuff like that, but didn't really was just curious about hunting, and he asked me questions, and then came hunting, and next minute's a mad keen bow hunter. That's 20 years ago, and we're still friends, and it's just a really, really cool story of that sort of opportunity to engage in meaningful dialogue with thoughtful conversation, and connect with that person as to where they're at and where you're at. And some people don't want to connect, and that's fine. You'll work that out pretty quick.
Yeah, no, that's you definitely hit on a number of great points there. I've found that, you said smoko room. I quite often bring venison and goat to work when I have, whether it's cooked or if I cook it at work. There's been a couple of times I've gone out spotlighting, and out, till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then rock up to work with half a deer in the esky, and bring it out into the work kitchen and start cooking up, venison steaks, and cut up some heart and that for people, who live in the city that have never experienced any of that type of stuff. So, doing that type of stuff, and letting them try wild game, and if they get the taste for it, that's good for you, because then they might have your back in the future.
That's it. Even I get the a couple of shooter magazines. Sporting Shooter, for example, is one, and I read them at work, and I'll just leave them on the table. And the boys will pick them up and have a look and ask a few questions here and there, or something like, oh yeah, my uncle's into this, or like, it's just that the normalizing of it to some extent, because it's just not in a lot of circles. It's just not normal.
Yeah, I've got a few of the bow hunting magazines and stuff, and when I traveled overseas, and I'm not afraid to sit on an aeroplane and read a bow hunting magazine in front of people, because it initiates discussion, and you can have these discussions, whether they're for
I'll tell you
or
what,
against it.
an interesting discussion is when you walk through Shanghai Airport coming back into the country just before the 2008 Olympics, and you have your bow case with you. And they pull you out of the line. They go, we want to see what's in that. And then you quietly shoot your pants.
Oh, you broken up there for a second.
That was interesting. Sorry, is that better?
Yep, that's better. You just cut out. You just said that you shit your pants and then cut out for a second.
Oh, basically because I knew I wasn't walking out in a hurry. It was going to be a long conversation with poor communication skills on my behalf. But I ended up getting my bows through into the country. It was okay in the end.
That's good. Yeah, I've only ever had troubles coming back into Australia with the bows.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
right. Eh?
Just going through Melbourne. I try and avoid Melbourne now. Too many of those those vegan baristas there working their second job at the checkouts.
Nice.
Since you mentioned it, I skipped over it, but I'll skip back to it for you. Zombie apocalypse weapon. What are you going?
Oh, I was joking, dude.
You dug yourself into a hole. If you didn't mention I would have left it out for you.
Am I allowed to?
Yep. Go.
Like a primary assault weapon, it'd have to be. I'd have to go with my 44 Magnum lever action.
Yep. Beautiful.
Good stopping power, headshot. You're just done. And I can fit 10 up the spout and 1 in the chamber, so I've got 11 rounds, so I have to worry about it. And then I think you've got to have something a bit short range. Like a machete or, a mace, or just something that just obliterates you when the shit hits the fan and they're just, too close. But I do subscribe to the to Zombie Lands, like checking toilets, wearing seatbelts. Great movie.
Yeah,
great movie.
Both of them are absolutely great. I love them.
Double tap, maybe. 44, probably not.
No, definitely not. That's when you just start stomping.
That's it, eh? That's it. Put your big boots on and just get into it.
And then finally, what is hunting to you?
Oh, hard one to summarize. Again, it's a lot of things really, because it's been part of my life, growing up with it, exposed to it younger, because, that was it was what we did as a family, what my father did, the camping and outdoors and all that went with it. And then, those memories of shooting arrows in the backyard as a kid with my brother, and, maybe not shooting them straight up in the air and running inside because we were shit scared we couldn't see them anymore. Um, and then as an older teenager and whatnot, got my license of independence, and like I said, sort of had my own gear and got to go out and do my own thing. And I got heavily involved into around the forums, and that was it before social media. It was our forum and that was it. So it was a massive undertaking of time and effort. And like I said before, like certain amount of sort of sacrifice as far as time invested into it, where you could be out hunting yourself, but you've got a responsibility to some extent. And then, journeys like just meeting different people and going to different places as part of that. And then even more recently, the Braken Wear thing, the podcast thing, and then again, sort of, I guess, reigniting the forum side of it again, nearly 20 years later since I first started them. And then touching base with guys through social media as well, like yourself, as a new friend. But then again, I don't know if you know the boys with Urban to Outland, Scotty and Jamie.
Yep.
They were on the forums 15, 20 years ago, and obviously my mate Barry, and as I said, mentioned before, like, fellas, Al Kidner, and Al Kidner won our first ever story comp on the forum.
Yeah, wow.
Like, just and I've still got the article on the computer or on a hard drive somewhere with the photos. 21 on Bust, it was cool. And I've had so many good conversations with Al, but it's just so much, man. Like, it's meeting people like yourself. It's talking to people or introducing them to the sport. It's my mate Brett in town who's busting to get out and do something, but for various reasons, time is really hard for him to find. And the times he have been out, Murphy showed up every bloody time, but the passion he's got for something that he's only really dipped his toes into, and seeing that, and then the converse side with Barry 20 years later, or the same thing. Like, I have photos and stuff here, media cuttings of my father's from the 70s when he was up at Mount Isa, in a shield that the club presented him when he left the club or the town and moved back down this way. And
Yeah.
there's so much nostalgia and life and passion. And I listening to guys like Benny Selleris talk, and his literal same thing, lifelong exposure to it, and I just identify with so much of what he has to say about the same stuff for the same reasons. Yeah, so it's, I don't know, I can't.
No,
I'm talking shit. Like, I can't sum it up, mate.
That's good. That's good. That's why I like it. It hits everyone different, and everyone comes up with something different, but something that everyone can almost relate to as well. So, just quickly jumping onto another thing before we end it, the bow hunting forums. Sure. How did that all start? Because that was before my time.
Young whippersnapper.
Yeah, I was 2007. I probably started posting my first bow fishing photos up. Maybe 2008. Around that time, but that was social media. That was as Facebook was kicking off.
Very start of it,
So that's where I've jumped onto it. I've jumped onto it on all the Facebook side of stuff. So all I've known is Facebook, and then Instagram and all of that side. So tell us a backstory of the forums, how it started, when it kind of slowed down, and then when it revamped back up to what it is now.
So it probably wasn't until I met Antonio Lara, whose name you might be familiar with.
Sure.
And we started doing bits and pieces, and he came on board to the forums. And I'm telling you this story to tell you the origin story a little bit, I suppose. But through the forums and discussions and whatnot, our friend Joel came up with the idea of an annual publication as like a journal of the awesome stories and collections of stuff from the forums, and just do it on an annual basis. But basically, publish it as a magazine, which we ended up doing as Bowhunters Australia magazine, and then it became Pacific Bowhunter, and then it became Arrowhead magazine. But we used to spend a lot of time on the phone, a lot of time, doing stuff with regards to the magazine and the forums and stuff. And we just coined this phrase: "There's talkers and there's doers." And we weren't talkers; we were doers. And that's, I think, where the forums originally came from.
Oh, hang on. It's just cut out again there. Sorry. 1 second.
Hello.
There we go.
You got me?
It's back now.
All right.
Thinkers and
Where'd you go to, bro?
what was it? Thinkers and doers is where it cut out at.
Thinkers and doers. So yeah, just thinkers and doers. Sorry, talkers and doers. There's people who talk a lot about stuff but don't actually do anything. And that's just not me. Yeah. I think that's why I can't sit still and I've got my finger in so many pies. But that's where the forums originally came from. So it was 99, 2000, and I was at uni. And like I said, I'd joined up down at the Grange Bowman Club there at North Brisbane. I can't remember the name of the road that it's on, but anyway. And I just wanted to learn more about what we hunt here.
Yeah.
And the internet was a new thing. This is late 90s. Internet was a new thing, and I was getting on the internet and I was searching, and all I could find was stuff about American hunting, white-tailed deer and whatever else. And I'm like, well, this isn't any bloody good because it doesn't help me. So how do I start one of these website things? What's this all about? So I literally just went, and then I'd come across forums. So I'm like, okay, well, that's that and that's that. So let's go and have a crack and see if we can get one of these things running for myself. And through the process of doing that, I just came up with the name and learned how to register a website. I don't know how, but I had a version of Photoshop, and believe it or not, I used that to design the website. Because basically, imagine a screenshot, and then you cut it up into bits and pieces, and then all those bits and pieces you could put different hyperlinks on, and the guts of it was the forum. So, that's sort of how it all pieced together to start with. And that was that. I knew that I didn't know enough to be able to run it myself, to be able to answer certain questions or whatever. So through the web, I'd come across a couple of fellas. One was a guy from the sunny coast called Glenn Newell, and he was a guy who's like shot more game than we could poke a stick at, makes amazing trad bows, that sort of thing. And the other was Adam Greentree. And I just reached out to both of them and said, look, I've got, not enough experience to do this on my own with certain aspects of it. So I'd love it if you guys were keen to come and help out. And they were like, oh, absolutely. We need this sort of resource. It's, obviously it's going to grow into something in the future as far as this interweb thing is concerned. And did I just say interweb?
You did.
And yeah, mate, it just went from there, and hand over fist. It was dribs and drabs here. There's a guy called Matt Fowler from Orange. He's on Instagram. He was one of the first blokes to ever join up. Al Kidner was very early days. Like I said, Scotty was from Urban to Outland. Jamie not long after. And then just Benny Celeris was a moderator in the later years.
Yeah, wow.
Pedro Impuro was on there. He was writing articles for the magazine. Just so many people. It just blew out. And then I think by 2009, we were getting 10 million hits a month.
Yeah, wow, that's insane.
It was cooking. It was absolutely cooking. And we had what's his name? Dudley. John Dudley.
John Dudley.
Yeah. Yeah, John Dudley, he wrote us a couple of articles for the magazine, would post on the forum, giving people coaching advice. Brad Murphy, and Macca came on when he was a young fella and hadn't shot anything, this sort of stuff, and just all these, Ben Honke and terrible with names. I know faces really well. I'm terrible with names. young guy who shoots deer a long way away these days with the rifle. That's terrible. That's really bad. I have to look him up on Instagram. But you know, and it's one of the coolest things since then is that I've seen these younger guys grow up. You know, like literally grow up, and you know they've now got kids and businesses, and you know they're their own people, their own adults now doing their own thing. It's just been so awesome. But yeah, we used to run raffles for RFDS. We raised $10,000 one year and $8,000 the next year, and do those things. And we had we organised the first Bowhunters education workshop at Orange Bowhunters Club with the New South Wales Game Council. So we got that up and running, and yeah, just that was it. It was just your community. Insane. It was like Facebook groups are now, mate, but it was their own community, and it was where we could post stuff, ask questions, share stories, get information on gear or photography or four-wheel driving or whatever, you know. And then group hunts, mate. There was group hunts left, right, and centre, you know. And there's guys now who are literally still lifelong mates. That's, you know, like literally. That's nuts. And it was, yeah, and that's again part of that passion that I couldn't put into words before, you know. And it was why, in these more recent years, when circumstances have been such that the forums as they are now, just the sort of haven't sort of gotten the love that they should be, I suppose. And they're very glitchy, and there's a lot of problems with the software that I just went, well, you know what, that side of it's dead. It's literally not recoverable by IT people. It's just stuffed. So let's just start fresh, and AussieBowhunters.com is where it's at. And, you know, we're just sitting there now as 450 members, something like that. That's awesome. Yeah, we have our conversations and, you know, just go from there. So it's great.
That's sweet, man. That's sweet. Great to hear. Like I said, I think I accidentally joined the old one, and I'll have to sort out how to get onto the new one. If it's not on an app, I'm useless.
Look, and it's the only sort of hang up. We still use the same software. It's obviously a more updated version of it with the V-Bulletin software, but it's not overly app friendly. You can get it on like Safari or your browser on your phone, and hold the phone longwise. It works a bit horizontally, whatever. It works a bit better, but that is a little bit of a hang up. But you know, it's just one of those things. Yeah.
So wrapping up anyway, man, what about social media? Sure, where can people find you? Where can they check out the Braken Wear products? Where can they listen to the podcast? Where can they check out the forum?
Yep. So just as I just mentioned, the forum, the easiest website to remember is AussieBowhunters.com. And I kind of got the security screwed down a little bit tight just because of experiences in the past. And the previous website was hacked and destroyed in about 2010, and we had to start all over again, which was really disappointing. So sign up to that, and I'll approve it and do everything I can as soon as possible for those interested. You can find me as Braken Hunter on Instagram, and Braken Wear is just Braken Wear on Instagram. And then we have the Hunting Republic podcast, which is my own little new venture. 3 episodes deep so far. Learning curve. Thank you, Zach, for all your help.
It's all good, mate. All good.
Yeah, so all of those pages, the Braken Wear and Hunting Republic and whatnot, they're also on Facebook. So you can find the Bowhunters Group of Australia on Facebook. There is a group and a page. So yeah, but there's I think there's about 2,500 people in the group on Facebook. So I'm like, oh, come on, boys, come over to the group. You know, come over to the forums. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good. We got a chat group going in the background as well. So that's awesome. Been really good the last few weeks. Yeah, it's all there, mate. It's searchable and whatever else.
Yeah, sweet. So guys, check it out and get over, have a listen to the Hunting Republic podcast. It's a good listen. Like you said, 3 episodes.
3 so far. And there will be a Braken Wear, something or other along the same veins coming out soon. It'll be different. Just keep it that way, mate. It'll be different. So we're still dialing that in. We're still perfecting the format, let's just say, that it will take. But myself and Bernie have got our heads together, and we're really excited about what we're going to be doing with that. So, yeah.
Well, when you get that out, I'll have to get you on and give you some publicity via this way, and learn all about it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
No, all good.
And likewise, it'd be good to have you on ours for. Yeah, be good.
We'll organise it soon, mate. We'll organise it soon.
Definitely.
Easy, mate. I really appreciate you coming on, and it was great chatting to you.
Happy days. Glad we could get over the little technical glitches at the start.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. All right, man. Have
Too
a good
easy.
night. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Hunting Connection Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our discussions and gained valuable insights into the world of hunting, fishing, and the outdoors. To stay connected with us and never miss out on an update, please be sure to follow us on social media, all at Hunting Connection Podcast. We appreciate your support and would love for you to share the podcast with your friends and family. Don't forget to tag us in your hunting photos on social media and let us know about your experiences. Your feedback is invaluable to us, so please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Together, we continue growing and delivering more captivating episodes for all hunting enthusiasts. Stay connected, stay informed, and keep pursuing your passion for the hunt. Until next time, happy hunting.